10 shocking teacher-student affairs. Kara Dickey. Kara Dickey was a 29-year-old teacher who engaged in a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old student. She taught at South Buffalo Charter School and was fired after a romantic text conversation was found on the student's cell phone. Later that day, the pair disappeared. Kara was found unconscious in her car from a suicide attempt, and the student was found close by. She was charged with endangering the welfare of a child, promoting a suicide attempt, and unlawful imprisonment. Kara also pleaded guilty to 2 counts of statutory rape with the student. Kelly Ann Garcia. Kelly Ann Garcia was an English teacher at Hastings High School in Houston, Texas. When Kelly was 29 years old, she started mentoring a 16-year-old female student who wasn't in one of her classes. After taking the female teenager to coffee, Kelly told the student that she had an erotic dream about her, and the pair started a relationship that went from kissing to purely sexual. Kelly even bought a sex toy to use with the student. After the student told her friend about the experience, that same friend went to the authorities. Kelly posted her $60,000 bond after being arrested. Stephanie Ragusa. Stephanie Ragusa was a 28-year-old math teacher at Davidson Middle School in Tampa, Florida, who was arrested 3 times in March and April of 2008 for having sex with 2 male students who were 14 and 17. After one of the students' stories was confirmed due to distinctive tattoos around Ragusa's groin region, she pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 10 years in prison, plus 5 years probation as a sex offender. Megan Mahoney. Megan Mahoney was 24 years old when she got a job as a gym teacher at a high school in New York City. Her teaching career was cut short when it was discovered that she had an affair with a 16-year-old student. Megan, who was a star basketball player in college, would pick up the student at his house, and because she looked like a high school student, his parents didn't think twice about the relationship. However, after the student's ex-girlfriend, bitter about the breakup, followed the couple one night and taped a sexual encounter in Megan's car, Megan was arrested and charged with 30 counts of statutory rape and 4 counts of criminal sexual assault. Rochelle Gendron. Ironically, Rochelle Gendron was a sexual education teacher in Massachusetts in 2012. When she was about 25 years old, she invited a 14-year-old student to her house where she performed oral sex on him. Once nude photos of Gendron were found in the victim's cell phone, she was arrested, where she pled guilty to a multitude of charges including statutory rape. In exchange for a shorter sentence, Gendron agreed to counseling, a mental health evaluation, and staying away from boys under the age of 16. Deborah Lefebvre. Deborah Lefebvre was a teacher at Angelo L. Greco Middle School in Temple Terrace, Florida, where she had sex with a 14-year-old student. While her victim wasn't a student of hers, they would talk outside of class, and he would visit her classroom. The sexual relationship started when Lefebvre gave the 14-year-old oral sex, and they then had sex in a mobile classroom about 9 days later. Lefebvre pled guilty to lewd battery, but the charges were eventually dropped when the victim's mother didn't want her son's identity to be exposed after learning that the case was to air on court TV. Shelley Dufresne and Rachel Respes. Shelley Dufresne was 32 years old and a high school English teacher when she started an affair with a 16-year-old student. Things then escalated to where Dufresne took her teen lover to Rachel Respes' home, where the trio had a threesome. The student, proud of his actions, bragged about the encounter with the 2 English teachers, which then led his friends to report the incident to the authorities. Despite the teen consenting to the encounter, he was still 16 at the time, making him a minor under Louisiana state law. The 2 teachers were arrested, and their court proceedings are still occurring. Pamela Joan Rogers Turner. Pamela Joan Rogers Turner was a teacher and a coach at an elementary school in Tennessee at Centertown Elementary School. When she was 27 years old, she started a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old student that included a variety of sexual activities that most adults are inexperienced in. She was actually able to gain the trust of her victim's parents and stayed at their house on numerous occasions. But pride eventually got to Turner as she bragged to her victim's best friend about the affair, and as teenagers and secrets go, the rumor was all over the school and eventually escalated to an anonymous tip to the police. After being charged with 15 counts of sexual battery and 13 counts of statutory rape, Turner's original sentence wasn't that bad, with just 9 months in jail and 7 years of probation. But she continued to contact her victim via MySpace and send nude photos, which forced the judge to end her probation and spend 7 years in prison, plus an additional 2 years for the nude photos.
I was blinded by emotions that I'm ashamed that I had.
Brienne Altice. Brienne Altice was an English teacher from Utah who had sex with two of her students, who were 16 and 17 respectively. The 35-year-old teacher started the affair with kisses in between classes, which eventually escalated to full-on sexual encounters. After it was realized that Brienne was nicknamed the teacher with benefits, the two teenage boys stepped forward and Brienne was arrested. She pleaded guilty to the charges in order to avoid a harsher sentence. Mary Kay Letourneau. The case of Mary Kay Letourneau is probably one of the most famous and well-known affairs in the world. Mary Kay met Vili Fualaau when he was 8 years old and a student in her 2nd grade class. The pair met again when Vili was 12 and a student in Mary Kay's 6th grade class. It was then she decided to move in on him and the pair began their affair, which was exposed after Mary Kay's husband interrogated Vili. Mary Kay became pregnant 2 times from the affair while Vili was underage, and the pair got married in 2005 after she was released from prison after being convicted of child sexual assault.